Hi everyone, I wanted to do a tutorial on the water droplet and basically dodging, burning, smudging, and smearing. So for the droplet, I have through step 1 where I've applied a dark area, and based on this tutorial, I'm also going to add lights and darks. So dodging and burning is something that you can do in any of your drawings, no matter which of the digital drawings that you're doing. The dodge and burn tool is this circle with a slash through it that has one side light and one side dark. If you click on it, then your modes come up here. So if you want to dodge an area, that's lighten. If you want to burn, that's darken. And you can select the range of colors that you want to do. You can adjust the brush as always. I'm set to lighten mode, so I am going to go and click and press this kind of area of the droplet that I want to be lighter. So I'm clicking and holding, and then I'm going to release and click again, and you notice that it lightens again. I can adjust the power and the strength of this at the top right here. Let's say it's not having as much impact as I want, and I increase it, then it makes a bigger difference. So I'm going to raise the strength again, get this job done. So I'm lightening this area just by burning. Now, another thing that you can do is you can create a color palette, and you can pick it from the image if you have it embedded in your project like I do here, and you can just use a color picker to select a lighter range of colors, or you can go over here and you can select it and then use the brush tool, which is B on the shortcut, and you can brush that color in. So there are other ways that you can do this. The dodge and burn tool is quite nice, but sometimes with certain colors, like for example this orange, the burn and the dodge colors may be a little less to your liking. But there's always multiple ways that you can do things. I'm going to click on highlights now, and that's going to get my lighter range. And for demo's sake, this is probably going to be really, quite a bit quicker and a little bit sloppier than I would expect you guys to do. Likewise, if I click darken, then I can get that nice shadow in here. Now, all of this is pretty blotchy, right? So I'd like to smooth all that out, and we're going to do that with the blur, sharpen, smudge. You can click if you want to blur or smudge. In most cases, I think it's a nice kind of general rule of thumb to smudge first and then blur. So I'm going to smudge in my areas to get those pixels kind of mixed together. And it does matter where you drag from, which area you drag from. It's kind of like where you click, you're dragging that color into the area that you're moving your mouse. So I'm smudging all this out. Don't be afraid of dark darks or light lights. Then I'm going to go over to blur, and I'm going to kind of smooth all that out. We also are going to need a highlight over here, and we're going to need this shadow underneath, which you notice has the reflected light coming through. I'm going to show you how you can also use and by the way, this is all on a new layer. I'm going to show you how you can also use the erase tool. So I'm going to go over to my eraser. Since the water droplet is transparent, you can erase to get kind of that undercolor, that background color showing through a little bit, and it's going to kind of add to the translucency of your water droplet. So I'm kind of erasing out a little bit here and there. I'm going to go back to I'm going to go straight white. So I'm going to pick white for my highlight. This is also an opportunity for you to adjust, playing around with different brushes and picking like a texture. Like I'm going to put highlights in with this star. Now up close, it may not do what you want it. It's not doing. My video is about to end, so I'm going to chop this and I'll put it in another one. Okay, so I'm here and I'm going to use this star to create these highlights on my water droplet. So it's okay to use the brush sets that you have available here, you can use different shapes and get kind of a little bit more wacky with it and add a little bit more texture. So I'm going to lower the size. This preview window is nice. It shows you how big your brush is going to be there. And I'm going to create some bright white highlights here, which don't really look that great on this window here when you're like kind of zoomed in, but take a look on the navigate whenever it's zoomed out and you can see that highlight from afar and it makes it look shiny and that's high contrast. That's how you get a good shiny effect on an object. So I'm gonna also kind of sprinkle it around here. I can lower the opacity and lower the brush size if I want. For the demo's sake, I'm kind of okay with it being a little bit jumbo. So I'm going to sprinkle some of these little highlights around here. And then there's a few over here as well. I'll kind of dot that around and you can see it's starting to kind of take shape over there. The last thing I really need to do, you can obviously work this area to your liking and should work it further than I have here, but we need to get this drop shadow in and notice that effect underneath. You can also use layer modes to modify this to get it looking more like you want it to look. There's a couple things you can do here. You could very easily just invert this selection and then you're going to be placing a shadow only around here. But I have this blank layer underneath that I'm going to click on. And whenever I deselect by using my Control D, I can go to now burn. And I can put it on this layer too because you can't burn on an empty layer. There's nothing for it to darken. So I'm going to click darken and I'm going to adjust my brush size because it's too large. And I want to keep it really soft like this. I'm going to click on midtones and now I can, and I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. And now I can come around and because I'm on the layer underneath, it's not going to paint on top of the water droplet because it's underneath in that layer. So I'm kind of darkening that area. You can also, like I said, you can also use the color picker to select a color that's already kind of in your range of darkness, and it brings up, whenever you pick a color, it brings up things that are color schemes, complements, analogous colors, and different shades of that color as well, which could be useful for your burn tool. And then I'm going to click back to the B, which is the draw tool, change my brush back to what it defaults, which is the 40 with a soft edge. And I'm going to brush this in here, the shadow. I'm going to also show you the modes, blending modes, so that you can get this to kind of look a little bit softer. You could also blur it out. So going back to blur, and you can kind of soften that edge that way as well. Now on this layer, I can select the blend modes and maybe multiply will darken it somewhat. You can overlay, lighten. You can do a lot of different things that will change the effect of it. These aren't very strong effects. You'll have another tutorial going over masking too. So, there we go. I'm going to zoom out. This is a basic tutorial for you on adding lights and darks into an object to give it, realistic looking highlights and shadows. I can do another short demo with the donut, and obviously spending more time. This is only about an 8-minute demo, so you have more time to play around with things like that. So good luck creating your lights and shadows.